Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi wa kafa, wa salamun ala ibadihi allazi kafa, amma ba'd. Fa'udhu billahi ash-shaytanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ulaika humul mu'minuna haqqan, lahum darajatun inda rabbihim wa maghfiratun kareem. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa ala alihi wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa ala alihi wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa ala alihi sayyidina wa barik wa sallim. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammil khair wa bika nasta'in. Rabbi zidni ilma waftah. So alhamdulillah, by grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are here in our session, the Tuesday night session, eat and greet session that we have, with a bit of some talk as well. But I think that bit of talk overcompensates for that eating and greeting, because any majlis or any gathering in which the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is done, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is remembered or reminded of, is a blessed gathering. And us being here in such gatherings is a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we should be appreciative of as much as possible. Inshallah, we're hopeful that as we go along, we'll have more people coming in person, as well as inshallah the audience online will gradually and slowly increase as well. As Umar had shared on the group, inshallah what we plan to do is to use these Tuesday night gatherings to talk about the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these companions of Rasulullah were very special personality, and among the companions there were certain companions who were given the glad tidings by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam of Jannah while they were in this dunya. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave them the glad tidings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has informed him that so and so Sahabi is in Jannah. First thing first is that as a human being, we cannot be certain about anyone that person is in hell or that person is in Jannah. We cannot give that fatwa no matter who that individual is. The only people that we can be certain about them being in Jannah or in them being in hell are the ones whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Hadeeth has declared that these people are in Jannah or this person is in Jahannam. Other than that, no matter who that individual is. So in our times, we cannot look at any person and say that this person is in Jahannam. Wallahu a'lam, right? Only Allah knows who is in Jahannam, who is in Jannah. We cannot be sure of it, nor is it of any concern to us. The most important thing to remember over here is that it should not concern us at all where that person is, because him being in Jannah is not going to benefit us, and him being in Jahannam is not going to harm us either. We will only be questioned for where we are going to end up, right? So there are individuals whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's messenger Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, he says it on the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said that وَمَا يَنْتَكُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ, that nothing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says is by his own whim. He says it only once we send wahi to him. So the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which are related to deen are always as a wahi for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not say things on his own, except which are on a day-to-day matter, like he's telling you about some ordeal, like carry out this chore, just something like a minimalistic thing like this. But if he is giving you a command, if he is giving you, if he is helping you in a matter, if he is telling you a solution to something, then that is, and if he is doing an action himself, that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what the definition of hadith is as well. So the people who surrounded Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were these amazing personalities. They were such amazing personalities that actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran has vouched for their greatness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one place said that أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا, that these are the people who are truly the believers. لَهُمْ دَرَجَاتٌ إِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, they have high status in front of their Rabb. وَمَغْفِرَةٌ وَرِزْقٌ كَرِيمٌ, and for them there is maghfirah and the blessed earnings. And another place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصَّادِقُونَ, that these are the honest, truthful people. Right? So, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in different places has vouched for the greatness of these people. He said, خَيْرُ أُمَّةِ الْقُرْنُ الَّذِينَ يَلُونِي, that the best of the people in my ummat are the ones who are from my generation. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ, and the ones who are after them. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ, and the ones best after them. So there are three generations about whose greatness, honesty, dignity, uprightness Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taken a vouch for himself, in the same order that the best among them would be the first generation, whom we call Sahabah Ikram, the second generation, whom we call Tabi'i, and the third generation, whom we call Taba Tabi'i. Right? So these are the people Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has vouched from. Right? In another place, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that La tasubbu ashabi, la tasubbu ashabi, fawallazina nafsi biyadihi, law anna ahadakum anfaqa misla ahadin zahaban, man adraka mudda ahadihim wala nasfihi. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that my ashab, he said that my ashab, do not say anything to them, because if anyone is to bring gold equal to the Mount Uhud, they would still not be equal in even half a fist of what the iman or the amal that these Sahaba have done. So this is so Rasulullah very strictly forbade to say anything bad to anything being said bad to Sahaba Ikram radhiyallahu ajma'in. These are these people who played a pivotal role in bringing us the deen that we have today. A lot of people, they blindly believe, or at least a lot of Muslims, they blindly believe that Quran is the all ultimate source of truth. However, they have a doubt in Hadeeth, and they have a doubt in other formation of other jurisprudence of our deen. But the question to such individuals is that how did Quran actually come to us? Quran didn't get passed on to us through revelation onto ourselves. The Quran, as we know and as we are so sure of, is passed on to us because there have always been enough number of people in every generation who have conveyed the same message downwards that it would be hard for us to believe that such people would be altogether lying. Right? So this is what is called tawatur, that Quran has reached to us through tawatur, that in every generation there have been enough number of people who have given the same information, who have passed on the same Quran from one on to the other, and that has meant that this is what Quran is always like this. So the rest of the deen has reached to us in a similar manner. There are exceptions to certain things which are not that well, that equally well numbered in terms of number of people in the same generation conveying that message, but there is classification for that. The most important individuals in that transmission of Quran or deen down to us are Sahaba Ikram radhiyallahu ajma'in themselves. They are extremely important personalities. If somebody starts insinuating things towards them which would sow the seeds of doubt, that means that we are shaking the entire foundation of our deen. So if somebody starts saying that, oh, so and so Sahabi was like this, that means that you are doubting the very individuals from whom the Quran or the deen has come down to us, be it Quran or Hadith. And if you start doing that, you are shaking the entire foundation of religion itself. And that is why, if you reflect on it, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went the extra mile to actually narrate the significance and importance of the Sahaba Ikram himself. And what we are trying to do today is also learn about Sahaba Ikram so that we actually realize who these great individuals were and how much of misunderstanding do we have towards them, and what our attitude towards Sahaba Ikram so that we can actually start getting the benefit, and inshallah if we get our concepts right, it will help strengthen our iman itself, right? So who is a Sahabi? I've been talking about the Sahaba Ikram, but what is exactly the definition of a Sahabi? What do you think is the definition of a Sahabi? Okay.
Companion of
What does that mean?
has lived a time. So the West Coast would be a Sahaba.
Anybody online want to comment? What is a Sahabi? Important question. We always say what is a Sahabi? Sahabi, we should know what a Sahabi is. Faisal, Mubin, Zulkarnain. आपकी आवाज़ नहीं सही आ रही.
अभी आपकी आवाज़ आ रही है?
जी जी. अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं. आप ड्राइवर पे कंसंट्रेट करें, कोई मसला नहीं. नो प्रॉब्लम. नो इश्यूज. आप ड्राइव करें, कोई नो प्रॉब्लम. मैं सहाबी की तारीफ की. सो सहाबी is an individual radiallahu ta'ala who in the state of iman, a person who in the state of iman got to spend some time in the suhbah, in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So an individual who was not in the state of iman was in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam got to lay his eyes on him, and he was not in the state of iman at that time, but afterwards he brought iman. He's not a sahabi. So a person who in the state of iman was in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a sahabi. Sayyidina Awais Karni is not a sahabi because he did not get to spend time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He missed being in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he was elevated to that level, although he's not a sahabi, but given the daraja of that because of his desire for being in the company and the effort that he made and the look after of his mother that he did, right? So just a moment where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam even got to lay just a brief sight on him, on that individual, sahabi or sahaba, where they were just in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So just that small moment of time being spent in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the condition of iman elevates one to the level of sahabi. Sahabi comes from suhbat, right? And interesting to understand is that none of the sahabi is ever called Hafiz. They're not called Mufti. They're not called Maulana. They're not called Muhaddis. They're not called Shaykh. They're not called any other titles that we give, or Qari. They're not given any of these titles because they have the ultimate title, that is of Sahabi. Although all of these individuals were something or the other. They were either a Mufti or a Qari or a Hafiz or a Maulana or a Muhaddis, something or the other, or a Shaykh. But the best title that they had was that of Sahabi, because that elevates them to the highest rank of being a wali that one can be. In our time, since after the ashab of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no matter who that individual is, no matter how big a shaykh or wali he is not even near that of sahabi. Once somebody asked a shaykh that, who do you think is better, Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, or what was his name, Umar bin Abdul Aziz, the caliph that came after the first Mujaddid of our deen, right? So that Shaykh said that when Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah was going on the battle with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the dust that was coming from the hooves of the horse, even that was greater than Sayyidina Umar bin Abdul Aziz, because that was in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah, despite all the controversies that were there in his time and era, had the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam And Umar bin Abdul Aziz, rahimullah, no matter how great a work he did for deen, still cannot match that level of a Sahabi because of the very company of the Sahabi himself. Right? So that is the high status of a Sahaba. How many Sahaba were there in total? There's a rough estimate that on the occasion of Hajjatul Wida, the largest Hajj Rasulullah performed, the number of people who had come to be in that Hajj, and all of them were, and of course in the state of Iman, and all of them did get a presence, spend some time in the company of Rasulullah. There were almost 124,000 people. So 1,24,000 as we would say it in Urdu, right? And once somebody asked Rasulullah that how many Anbiya alayhi salam had come, and he replied that 124,000 had come. So the ulama, they take a point out of this. They say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given all the characteristics, all the best traits of all the Anbiya alayhi salam that had come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was basically a focal point for all the characteristics, all the traits, all the qualities for all the Anbiya alayhi salam that had come. And there were 124,000. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed on these characteristics, these traits, these qualities onto the 124,000 ashab that he had, and each one of them got to take with them one or the other trait and personality or the quality of all the Anbiya alayhi salam that were there in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, as I said, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, he has made the effort to describe the significance and importance of his Sahaba, because they are the foundation of our deen. He said that his ashabi kal nujum, that my Sahaba are like stars, that if you follow one of them, you would be all guided. Right? My Sahaba are like stars, if you follow one of them, you shall be guided. In another place, it is said that as-sahabatu kulluhum adulun, that all the Sahaba, they are adil. Adil, this is a quote by Muhaddiseen. The Muhaddiseen, when they take a hadith, for example, the hadith of Bukhari Sharif or the hadith of Muslim Sharif, the two books that you probably are aware of are the most authentic books of hadith. In there, one of the characteristics of the individuals from whom that hadith has come to Imam Bukhari or Imam Muslim is that they were adil. Adil means that they were always just. They would not even in the most extraordinary circumstances, or even in the most lightest of the ways, tell a lie. For example, once somebody went to take some hadith from a muhaddis, and he saw that muhaddis was calling his pet. I don't remember what pet it was, but that muhaddis was calling his pet, and he was doing it like we do to our pet, like with your hand you say that, as though you're calling them, do you want to give something? And that when that pet came to him, he didn't have anything to feed to that pet. So that person who had come to take hadith from this muhaddis, he left. He said that this person is not adil. He, if he can fabricate or if he can imply a lie to an animal, then I can't take hadith from him. So this is how particular people were in taking ahadith from these individuals, and the ones who were actually labeled adil, this is how well they were scrutinized. Their past, present, and everything was seen to make sure that they got it right. The authenticity or the certificate of the Sahaba Ikram being adil came from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, and that is why the Muhaddiseen, they do not apply this check of what that individual was like to Sahaba Ikram at all. When in an hadith, in another usul of hadith is that if in the narration there is an individual who is missing, for example, I say that I have heard this hadith from X, X says that I have heard this hadith from Y, Y says that I have heard this hadith from Z, but that Z is unknown, then the entire chain of narration becomes weak. Now this hadith is called a zaif hadith. It is not taken as an authentic, as a 100% strong hadith. It is not a fabricated hadith, but it is not considered as 100% strong hadith. So, however, if the Sahabi is unknown, if somebody says that I've heard it from so and so Sahabi, and it is not, that Sahabi is not well known or not much is known about that Sahabi, then because, and it can be established, however, that this was a Sahabi, then there is no weakness in that hadith. It is because they are all taken as the authentic individual. Rasulullah had also indicated that the best of the companions that any of the messengers got were the companions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to me, right? So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Rasulullah authenticated that these were the people who were the best of the companions, and it has been said about them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has said that radiyallahu anhu. The reason we say radiyallahu anhum is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared that He is pleased with this, with these Sahabah ikram radiyallahu ajmain, right? So that is why we call them radiyallahu anhum.
Any other Prophet companions?
They are so in the companions that are mentioned in Quran. Sorry, I need to switch off the AC. This one so that you. So the companions that came are mentioned in Quran are the companions of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, right? And what are they called? They are being referred to as. Just the other day I was reading about them. They are called. Google it. The companions of Isa alayhi salam mentioned in Quran.
But also Musa's brother.
But he was a Nabi himself. The important point that I was about to tell was that in one of the ahadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said that in Bani Israel they got split into 72 sects, and you, the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will divide into 73 sects, and apart from one, all of the 72 would be actually going in Jahannam. So the Sahabah ikram radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the ajmain, they asked that, Ya Rasulullah, how do we recognize that which sect is right? How do we know? He said that the sign to recognize them would be that ma ana alayhi wa ashabi, that the sect which would be following me and what my Sahaba follow, that would be the sect which would be saved. Ma ana alayhi wa ashabi. Right. So this is a very important point, that the path that has been chosen by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the path that has been opted by the Sahaba radhiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, that is the one which would be saved. The rest are not to be saved. And the path that is chosen by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the one followed by his Sahaba is what is, and the people who do that are called Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat. Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat. Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat, which we say that we are from, are the ones who are in essence follower of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sunnahs of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and that of his Sahaba ikram radhiyallahu ajma'in. That is why it is Jamaat. And if anyone actually, if anybody actually degrades Sahaba ikram or he calls them for different things, that means that he is in any way stepping away from that, because he is not fulfilling the criteria of ma ana alayhi wa ashabi. It is not just Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that it's just me, but it's also that of Sahaba ikram, which is critical to keep in mind.
Al-Hawariyun.
Hawari. They are known as Hawari. Ji, Raja, please. Then you had something to say.
Sorry, I have two questions.
Ji.
One is Shaykh Sahab, that what is Awliya and Sahabah, and relating to Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar, and as you said that people who spend time with the Nabi Sallallahu were Sahabah. But Hazrat Abdullah bin Abu Umar, he has also very high ranks.
So he's a Sahabi. Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar radhiyallahu anhu is also a Sahabi.
Okay, nonsense. So, Shaykh Sahab, what is the difference between Sahaba and Awliya Allah? And the second question, as you mentioned that the followers of Nabi Pak and Sahaba,
Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat.
Ahl Sunnah are bit. So, how about the firqas like Deoband and Hadeeth?
Ji.
Can you please highlight those also?
Ji. So, this is not the purpose of this talk to go into such controversial issues, but I'll touch upon it because I brought it on to myself by mentioning this. Ji. I will.
Yeah.
So basically, first, awliya are the people. Wali means friend of Allah. Awliya is the plural of that. So it's the friends of Allah. So this word is used for those who have attained a status where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given them with a special status of closeness with them. And thereby they were Allah. A friend of Allah is somebody who by his mere presence bring people to Allah. That's the friendship of Allah, right? A friend of president, the best purpose that he serves to the people is that he gets people the access of president. A friend of Allah is that he, by virtue of being with him, you within yourself develop a closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a wali of Allah, right? So, and the plural of that is awliya Allah, right? Now, a wali of Allah or the awliya Allah is a very high status, but it is still second to the Sahabi, because all the Sahabah radiyallahu ta'ala ajma'in were friends of Allah as well. That's why Allah is themselves, talked about him. And I was just about to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actually set them as a benchmark for our own iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ, that if they believe just as you believe, فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا, then they would be guided. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the Sahaba Ikram through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and saying that if they believe just as you believe, they would be on the guided as well. So they are a benchmark, right? They are a benchmark. Now, the next question was that, so if they are sects, so Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is a broad sect. It's a sect. Now, if within this, actually I'm Shafi, I'm Maliki, I'm Hanafi, I'm this, I'm that. This is not a difference between Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. This is a difference between these are matters which are related to the practice itself, right? These are not, there are two kinds of issues. There are the jurisprudic issues, and there are aqaid related issues, matter of belief itself, matter of faith itself. The ones that become a problem are the matters of faith, the matters of belief, aqaid related issues. When you have, for example, if somebody stops saying that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is actually Noor and not a human, he's a Noor, then that's an aqaid related issue. That's a issue of your aqidah, right? And so on and so forth. Deoband is a school among, and not even a school, is basically an institute that teaches the Hanafi mazhab, and the ones who are called Deobandi are basically the ones who are following the Hanafi mazhab per se, and as it has been taught by the institute called Deoband. That is what Deobandi is. And the reason that Deobandi term came out was because there was another term that came up, which was that of Barelvi. Now Barelvi in their mazhab are also Hanafi, but in their aqaid are bit shaky, right? So it's a question of aqidah as opposed to the mazhab that they follow, right?
Friends think about, sometimes they ask Shia, what is the real answer?
To a non-Muslim, you should say,
I say that, but
I
myself get confused.
There's nothing to be confused about. I'm a Muslim, and that is why it is important to learn aqaid. It is very important to learn aqidah. There was a course that I did. I don't know if you guys ever were part of that. Our aqidah is summarized in inshallah aqidah we'll talk about at a later stage, but we are Sunni, right? We are Sunni for sure, 100%, alhamdulillah. And Sunni is again a short abbreviation of Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'at. Okay, that is what Sunni basically means. Sunni is from Sunnah, Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'at. Ahl Tashhi or Shia, and by the very word of it, means a group. Shia means a group. Quran, there are many places the word Shia is mentioned. Shia is a group. And they have their own aqaid, and the problem that stems is in the Aqidah itself. And then within Shia, then there are many sects. So that 73 sects basically is some broad sects, and then within them too many sects. So just like in Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat, there are sects as well. So there are, but the problem is there in the aqaid primarily.
Naqshbandi is a sect. No.
They are not a sect. They are
A chain.
They are a chain basically for establishing a connection to Rasulullah. So that's a sanad that as a reference of that.
Jilani and Qadri
And they are same. Like there's no Aqidah. Like if I'm Naqshband, then I'm Naqshband because of the chain that goes through. I'm Naqshband Mujaddidi. Right? That's a chain that goes. That what is my spiritual connection with Rasulullah, who is my teacher, who is his teacher, who is his teacher, who is his teacher. But as far as my following is concerned, I am Hanafi, and I am from Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat, and on the top of that I am a Muslim.
What would you say English, the right aqaid would be?
Right English of aqaid is belief. It's the fundamentals of the belief. So now the issue that comes is that some individuals, they actually go on, and one of them, I'll even name him, is Engineer Ali, Mirza Ali. A lot of people end up listening to him. Unfortunately, he's badmouths Sahabah Ikram as well, and a lot of people follow him. And he says that I'm basing this on what the history is. Right? So they use history, that look, it is historically recorded that this and this and this is this. Our argument to those are that if you compare history to that of what Hadith and Quran says, which would hold true? Hadith and Quran, that's not be even a thought, because if otherwise history even questions Quran itself, but we can't question Quran, we lose our iman if we question Quran. Right? History is as it has been recorded by the individuals that have come and narrated whatever that they had to, and they always says that the hero is who the historian was on the side of. I was just talking to my friend that growing up, Russia was always a villain for us. We always looked at Russia as that they are duffers, woofers, thick-headed, and that only came from us just looking at what was happening in Afghanistan and the American propaganda, Rambo and all of that, making us believe that Russians. Now in the Ukraine war, a boy like this, is probably, if he watches media, which I'm sure he does, he would be getting the same kind of influence that, the Russians are the bad guys. It's how history is written by those who the historian is on the winner's side. That's what it is.
And they are written by those who have hung heroes.
Yeah.
Hung them and then
Exactly. So, but Quran and Hadith, stands the test of even the historians, and they are over and above. So, if Quran and Hadith gives us the certificate of the authenticity of the Sahaba Ikram, then who are we to question just because on the basis of what historians have to say? Quran says, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ امْتَحَنَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُمْ لِلتَّقْوَى. That these are the people whose heart Allah has tested enough to find taqwa in them. So Sahaba Ikram ajma'in are the ones whose heart have been tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to realize whether there is taqwa in them or not. That is the level of test that they have stood. And that is why once they were successful in their test, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the title that radiyallahu anhum wa radu anhum. That Allah is happy with them and they are pleased with Allah. So these are who Sahaba Ikram radiyallahu ajma'in are. And in them, the four caliphs that came basically laid the foundation, the practical foundation of our deen, as our religion. They are the most important. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Ali, Usman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. They are extremely important, and we must be very clear about who they were, what their status was, who these individuals were, and where they stand. And then, inshallah, it will become. In this, we will talk about 10 Sahaba Ikram radiyallahu ta'ala ajma'in, inshallah, if Allah allows us. And these 10 individuals were Umar, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Talha radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Zubair radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Saad radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Saeed radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, all of them radiallahu ta'ala ajma'een. These are the ones inshallah who we would be talking about. They have funerals of so many of Sahabah. All the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are Sahabah, starting from Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, all the way up to Ashra radiallahu ta'ala anha.
My wife asked, she not why was it?
So the next series that we will do inshallah is on the Sahabiyat. Right?
Is that the word?
Huh?
Is that-
Sahabiyat. So there, inshallah, that we can do. The next series is on them. There are some amazing, and inshallah we should, just so that. But if by that time we have developed enough forum for female audience to be there, just to realize that how great a woman we had in Islam and what great personalities they were. And a lot of our deen, the understanding of our deen has come from Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. She is one of the main or majority narrator of Hadeeth as well. She is also a great faqihah. She was a muftiya. A lot of Sahaba Ikram radiallahu ta'ala ajma'in, they came to her to understand a matter that how would this matter be addressed, and she would then tell them that this is how it should be done. So a woman by any chance or by any means are no less of significant or important in our deen. Inshallah. Right now we have started talking about with Sahaba. Inshallah we'll talk about Sahabiyat as well.
Who Sahabi who actually died before,
Rasulullah. So many.
but not Ashra.
Ashra Mubashra. No.
Because Allah is aware, so the Sahabi we were asked, which we know. Saeed.
I don't think any of the Ashra Mubashra. So why are they called Ashra Mubashra? They call Ashra Mubashra because once in a gathering, Rasulullah started saying that Abu Bakr fil Jannah, Umar fil Jannah, Usman fil Jannah, Ali fil Jannah, wa Talha fil Jannah, wa Zubair fil Jannah, wa Abdul Rahman bin Auf fil Jannah, wa Saad fil Jannah, wa Saeed fil Jannah, wa Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah fil Jannah. So he took their names and he said that they're all in Jannah. And this was just one occasion. For Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, there are multiple other occasions where they were given this glad tidings that you're in Jannah, inshallah, we'll read about them. But all of them would spend their time crying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so much so that it comes that Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that he actually had a proper, just like if we walk on a grass strip, on a particular day, it becomes a proper pathway, it becomes, there's the depth that happens over there that shows that this is a walkway among the grass, right? Like that, he had a proper pathway for the tears flowing, it was visible on his skin. And the reason they would cry so much was because they would be, they would have this fear of Allah's Shane Be-Niyazi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Be-Niyaz. He can do whatever He wishes. They would never be certain that they would, when the last words of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, inshallah we'll talk about it in detail later on, was that he would keep on saying this to his son, that, bury me with as soon as possible, bury me with as soon as possible. So his son asked that, why are you in such a hurry to be buried? He said that because if my Rabb has forgiven me, then I do not want to be kept away from meeting Him. And if I am cursed and I am punished, then I won't want the burden to be on the earth more than it should be. This was their state till their last breath. He wasn't thinking that, I'm dying in masjid while I was reading the Jamaat, I'm Amirul Mu'mineen. He isn't thinking of any of that. And that somebody has come and stabbed me, this would be shahadat. He's still thinking that, I will come to know where I stand after my death. This is the level of Iman that we...
That's it, I'm relaxed.
Yeah, not at all. So there's a lesson in that for us as well. That's why I'm putting it up front, that this is what one state should always be. Never be certain. Always seeking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya Allah, I'm dependent on you. On your rahmat. Only on your rahmat. Somebody asked, when Rasulullah said that you will enter Jannah based on the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Somebody asked, Ya Rasulullah, even you? He said, even me. I will not enter Jannah because of I am Rasulullah, because it will be the rahmat of Allah. Inshallah, this was just the G. Look at it.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
G, I can.
When this ball request,
Ji.
at your can you please also, after that, later on, your planned lectures, the lectures on further life after death and from further the day of death. I'm not sure.
चलें इंशाल्लाह, अगर अल्लाह ने मौका दिया तो we'll do that. We'll talk about life after death as well, inshallah. We can have that as a discussion topic as well, inshallah.
Thank you.
No problem. But let's start with Ashra Mubashra, inshallah. It will take us some time to cover that. May Allah give us istiqamat and consistency. Yeah.
At your convenience, whenever.
Allah हमें इस्तिकामत दे इस काम को करने की, इंशाल्लाह then we'll do that as well. ठीक है इंशाल्लाह. व आखिर दावाना अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन. इंशाल्लाह